This video is about real politics and fake breasts. And we're just going to draw together two contrasting examples, one of which is this bizarre collaboration between Bernie Sanders and Emily Ratajkowski, approximate pronunciation, and the other is this strange transition we had with Nina and Randa, who made one YouTube video complaining fairly enough about the way in which being flat-chested and small-breasted has kind of shaped their whole lives, to what extent that's impacted their self-esteem or, experience of life on planet Earth. And that was followed up directly by this very peculiar series of images on Instagram where Randa, the smart one, of the two twins, let's face it, people, Randa is the smart one, Nina versus Randa. Randa was putting up these images that look like they were created by hitting a button on her phone that says, add boobs. Okay, you can look at images from just a few days earlier, and again, they were openly discussing how flat-chested they are, and then all of a sudden, she seems to have gotten interested in creating this peculiar illusion, maybe just to see if she'd get away with it, maybe just to see what comments would come in on Instagram. It was very, very strange to behold when, out of the blue, Senator Bernie Sanders, on his own YouTube channel, uploaded a collaboration with a model. And she is famous for nude modeling. And she is famous for the size of her breasts. This is not surprising in the sense that I wouldn't expect this model to support Bernie Sanders. What I wouldn't expect is for Bernie Sanders and his team of election strategy advisors to decide, hey, let's pick this celebrity to do a video collaboration with on YouTube. Let's make this into election propaganda. I can't imagine Bernie Sanders there saying, yes, that's the one, that Emily Ratajkowski. She's the girl we need on the cover, standing there saying, vote for Bernie Sanders. Okay, kids, this Emily Ratajkowski girl, she's the one we're going to put on the cover of our YouTube channel. She's the one who's going to make people sit down and think, yesterday I thought I would vote for Joe Biden, but today, I don't know. That girl, Emily Ratajkowski, and her big breasts, I'm thinking I'm going to vote for Bernie Sanders. Who in their right mind would possibly think that Bernie Sanders is going to pull in more votes because he did this collaboration with Emily Ratajkowski? What? Who thought that? Who thought this was a good strategy? And of course, there are all kinds of celebrities in Hollywood. There must be comedians and actors. There must be all kinds of people who do support Bernie Sanders, who we could, make a YouTube video with. And some of those Hollywood celebrities probably have a criminal history. They've been caught drunk driving, or they've been caught, using cocaine or something. And some of them have done nude scenes in films or told jokes that were scandalous. I'm sure in each case, his kind of strategic election committee has to sit down at a round table and make that decision. And it was just truly bizarre that of anyone Bernie Sanders could link his name to, he chose to link it to this particular model. So I started Googling her name because I wondered, all right, maybe she's not just a nude model. Maybe she doesn't just appear in, music videos and magazines and so on naked and showing off her breasts and showing off her low body fat composition and so on. Maybe this is someone who has some political aspirations. Maybe she has published a book. Maybe she is engaged in vegan activism. Maybe she has done something. And as I was Googling around, what I discovered was nothing. So I just didn't find any evidence that this woman has done some research on the rainforest and published a book about that. Celebrities and models, sometimes they have some political issue, ecological, ethical issue that their name is attached to. I could find absolutely nothing. Maybe that's changing right now. Maybe her collaboration with Bernie Sanders is the start of a new phase in her career where she doesn't just want to be a bare bum in a bikini anymore. She wants to no longer just be known as a big pair of boobs in the modeling industry. I don't know. But when I was Googling in this way, I found a really strange and somewhat off-putting post from her on Instagram where she was reflecting on how since the age of 14, when she developed this body, because by the way, her breasts are natural, this
video is partly about fake breasts and partly about real. From the age of 14, when she developed this body, all of the advice she received from adults was guiding her to focus on developing her sexuality, her sexiness, her sex appeal, her modeling career. And this has made her wealthy. She says it brought in a lot of money. It gave her a lot of freedom. She says that she did find it empowering. But when she looks back now, what she really thinks is that she wishes there had been someone giving more intellectual guidance to that 14-year-old girl in the bikini. She wishes there had been someone saying to her that what really matters is, quote, read lots of books. And I'm sitting there thinking, how many thousands, how many millions of women are there who did, from the age of 14 to the age of 24, read lots of books, and none of them are ever going to get to stand next to Bernie Sanders behind that podium. None of them are ever going to get to do a YouTube collaboration with Bernie Sanders, because nobody in this society gives a fuck if you have read a lot of books. I have spent so much time in university departments of political science where nobody cares about politics. I've been in departments of Asian studies where nobody cares about the history of Asia. Nobody cares about the politics of Asia. I'm not exaggerating. Even when you're in the middle of a university campus, when you're in the middle of a multi-million-dollar institution that nominally exists for the promotion of intellectual aspirations, goals, educations, philosophy, pushing back the frontiers of knowledge, the pursuit of excellence, and yes, y'all, reading a lot of books. That when you're in the middle of a university campus, you can't find anyone who gives a damn about reading books. Very often, the professors themselves have no interest in reading books. Many times, I've had professors teaching a course where the professor himself or herself had not read the book that the course was built on. And I've had many experiences where I knew for a fact in the classroom I was in, I was the only student who did read the book. Yeah. A lot of small classes. We're not talking about 300 students in the classroom. I had classes where there were only like 16 other people, and I know none of them would send me for the book. We live in a society where even at the elite levels of the most left-wing, politically correct politics, sadly, the way to get ahead is to have a pair of big boobs on Instagram, to have a pair of big boobs and a highly aerobicized, low body fat composition, low fat, high muscle frame, and so on. Unfortunately, the characteristics that carried Emily RATAJKOWSKI to the top of the modeling game have also carried her to the upper echelons of the Democrat Party political game. And I wish it wasn't so. And you know what? It's also kind of weird and shocking to me because all the time, younger people, I mean, who's older than me? You know what? Sometimes older people, let's be fair. Sometimes older people, but often younger people write to me asking what they should read. And I am very careful. I don't just in a flippant way say read lots of books. Telling a 14-year-old kid, go read lots of books. What are they going to learn from Batman? What are they going to learn from a story about a wizard fighting against another wizard? What are they like? The actual books 14-year-olds can read and understand and appreciate. You think those books don't ever make their lives worse? You don't think people's life gets worse from reading a lot of books? And when they get out of their depth, I mean, I've spoken to younger people who really got brainwashed by reading political materials. They might have read extremist left-wing materials or extremist right materials. It's very scary. It's very difficult. And many of the books that are most important for a 14-year-old or for a teenager to appreciate, you really need an adult to break it down, analyze it, animate it, explain it to you for you as a 14, 15, or 16-year-old to appreciate what's going on, to understand what it is that's interesting about this book and why it matters. If they just sit down and try to read that book alone, it can be even worse than reading Batman, or it can be worse than reading left-wing propaganda or right-wing propaganda. Okay, just brief digression. When I was a child, my parents gave me a history of the Soviet Union that was on my shelf. I read the whole thing repeatedly. I had the history of the Soviet Union. It was a special version for children of the history of the Soviet Union. And man, looking back now, I think every page of that book was a lie. It was intentionally deceptive one way or the other. Tragically, reading lots of books won't even help you get ahead on a university campus. It won't help you get ahead in the Democrat Party in the United States of America. What helps you get ahead is wearing a bathing suit and looking like that when you put it on. And that brings us to the storied and strange career of identical twins, Nina and Randa. My vote for the smarter of the two right now goes to Randa. And Randa decided in this provocative way to post a series of images that through lighting, angles, and Photoshop present you with the illusion that she has large breasts when we all know she's flat-chested, and she just made a video with her sister on YouTube talking about being flat-chested and the way that's shaped their whole lives. Imagine you lived in a society where men went around padding their shoulders, where it had just become normal in this other culture far, far away in some kind of science fiction episode, where it became normal for men to wear foam padding in their clothing, in their jackets, and then in their top coats on top of it, where our very notion of what a man's silhouette looked like, the shape of his back, his shoulders, his neck, was corrupted by the cultural expectation that he wear padding on his shoulders all the time. I try very hard to avoid shoulder padding. This is considered not a shoulder. This is considered unpadded. This is what's called soft structured, where there's no padding. But you can see it's still, that's not the shape of my shoulder. Okay, and I'm going to tell you something. You've probably never seen Bernie Sanders without shoulder pads. You've probably never seen Al Gore without shoulder pads. Al Gore, there was a guy who ran for government wearing a suit that would hang on him like a garbage bag and was all puffed up and padded. Once we socially accept the wearing of padded bras, the same way we socially accept the wearing of padded shoulders, we start step by step to live in a world where nothing is real anymore. We don't know in general what human beings look like in all their diversity. We don't have a sense of how many people have large breasts and how many have small breasts because everyone's wearing a padded bra. We don't know who has large shoulders and who has small shoulders because all the men are wearing shoulder pads. And to bring it back to the reflections of this model, Emily RATAJKOWSKI, on her 14-year-old self, isn't it the case also that we're ever more expecting women to leverage their appearance by putting in time and effort, creating an illusion that is in some ways corrosive to society, and as Emily RATAJKOWSKI says, in some ways is corrosive to their own intellectual development.